All right, hello wine-drinking people. Time for more of what I've had to drink yesterday. And these tastings we do at Cafe Maxx and the Edge Steak and Bar. Some of the best values. For $35, you get to taste 8 wines. And these two chefs that I'm working with, Aaron Brooks and Chef Oliver Saucy, I mean, two of the best chefs in the country, not just in South Florida. I'll put their food up against anybody's. And for $35, you don't just get 8 wines, you also get 2 small courses in each place. And it's not dinner. We give you just enough to get your motor running and want more. The idea is to get you to stay for a little something, an appetizer or something else. And the wine's the same thing, but we got them all in their own glass. This is the best way to learn about wine. So Pinot Noir was our subject of study, and we have Pinot Noir from around the world. Here's a varietal that most people thought only grew in specific places, and it does. It likes cold climate. It likes that limestone soil like they have in Burgundy, but today they're making great wine in areas like Tasmania, which the Piri was a big hit with our group. This is one of the coldest regions on Earth, and the lineup was just a little different, so I'm going to go through all of the wines. I'll just let you know which ones were different when we get to the Cafe Maxx reviews. And Andrew Piri is one of the pioneers of Tasmania. This wine had a lovely, pretty red berry fruit to it, almost like a raspberry Jolly Rancher candy here, and some pretty floral notes, really light, but had a nice savory finish and a nice light spice to it. Just a really pleasant bottle of Pinot Noir, the Piri, for $20. Incredible little value, and it's in a screw cap. We love the screw cap. Easy access. You don't have to pull your car over to open up the wine. All right, the Maud was the next wine up. This is so we went from Tasmania to New Zealand, another area that produces very good Pinot. This wine had a little bit of a green herbal kind of vegetal note to that raspberry and wild strawberry fruits, along with some exotic Asian spices, and this is a pretty big Pinot. That vegetal note, just a slight amount of that, I don't mind because it does add complexity to the wine. It complements the other flavors in it. This one had a lovely, smooth, silky texture also, and kind of nice big finish here. Some mineral notes and some zest and spice and a little bit of tannin there too. Excellent little Pinot. This Maud from Central Otago, one of the best areas in New Zealand for Pinot Noir on the South Island. All right, the Domaine Roble Monod, Bourgogne, Vins. This is an entry-level wine from a small domain, but even though it's the simplest wine in Burgundy, these are the calling cards for these houses. This house is located in Volnay, and I'll bet there's some Volnay fruit in this. You really notice it was a bigger style Bourgogne. Even though it was the lightest wine in this bunch, we probably should have served it first, and we did on the next night. But this wine had a lovely light red berry fruit to it, some fresh earth, kind of truffly notes to it, and really pretty and soft on the palate. But, definitely had some structure for a Bourgogne Rouge. A lot of times these Bourgogne Rouges are light like water, but this one had a nice zest to it, a nice finish, and a really good Bourgogne Rouge at $32, which is what we expect from a small domain. All right, the Bernard Moreau Chassagne Montrachet Vieilles Vins. Most people don't associate Chassagne with red wines, but they make a lot of red wine in Chassagne, actually. This is 2010 vintage, and as was the Bourgogne, and this is a great vintage. This wine had just a load of exotic spices on the nose to that black raspberry fruit, really rich. Needed some time to open up, though. These 2010s be better the second day when you open them. They're really tightly wound, but you could see the potential in this wine, and I had it the second day in the store. Really started to open up nicely. Dark spices showing that red berry fruit, exotic, and really firm hand of acidity holding things together, and some tannins here as well. This 2010 vintage is a vintage built for the ages. Excellent juice, the Vieilles Vins. And then the Roble Monod Volnay. This is a wine that started out, this is a producer we got our Bourgogne from, a little funky to the nose, a little funk going on there. And, after it opened up, really had some exotic floral notes coming out to this wine. It really changed the most of all the wines on the table. Lovely light raspberry fruit, cherry, and wow, this wine was really big on the palate too. That's what you get from Volnay, Côte de Beaune Red, and excellent structure, lovely depth of flavors, echoing that pretty floral nuance and spice through the end. I'd like to see this wine 5-8 years from now. Excellent juice for a Village Volnay. Actually, it's a Leo D. It's just a named vineyard. All right, the Han Pinot Noir. I figured we should put the California Pinots after the French stuff because they are higher in alcohol and fruitier. Some people would say sweeter, but there's no residual sugar in these wines. That's what you'd call sweet in wine terms. This wine, one of the best values. These are one of the biggest producers of Pinot Noir in California. Lovely sweet berry fruit, like cherry pie to the nose here. Almost a maple syrup kind of note to this wine. Started coming out as the wine opened up. Really sweet and sappy on the tongue with smooth and silky tannins. This wine's got good freshness, though, even though it's big and fruity. And a real crowd pleaser style. This was a big hit both nights, and especially when people looked at the price for $21.50. Wow, what a great value. Lovely touch of spice and still savory at the end. Nice balance in this wine. The Migration from the Russian River Valley was up up next. Neil Bernardi's the winemaker here, and they have about 10 different vineyard sites they're sourcing this from. He used to be the winemaker at Literai, a small boutique producer of Pinot, and they migrated, that's the name, from Anderson Valley down to the Russian River Valley. This is now its own standalone brand. It was GoldenEye's second label, and a totally different fruit source and a different production facility, different winemaker, and this wine really showing up nicely on this night. Had a classic brown spice and cola note that you get from the Russian River Valley. Some floral notes here, really nice complexity of bouquet on the nose, and really nice red berry, red cherry, wild strawberry fruit showing on the tongue with silky smooth tannins, and really pretty floral notes. A really refreshing style of Pinot Noir, not quite as sweet as the Han, but a little more complex, a little more rich, and excellent bottle of Pinot Noir at $33. And then it's big brother, the GoldenEye, to finish things off out at the edge. This is a big and structured Pinot Noir. That is what you get from Anderson Valley. Dark berry fruit, dark raspberries, dark cherries, fresh floral notes, black truffles, a host of exotic spicer on the nose. Very complex with an abundance of everything. This is a big and structured Pinot on the palate. This is a wine also needs a day to open up. 2010, a cooler vintage also in California. And lovely dark cherry and raspberry fruit with layers of dark spices, floral notes, really complex. This is a Pinot Noir built for the ages. Needs another 3 to 5 years at least in the bottle. And a lot of tannin at the end for a Pinot Noir. Excellent juice at $46.50. That was our big dog for the edge. I changed things up a little bit at Cafe Maxx. We started out with a Bourgogne Rouge because after that first tasting I said, this wine's a little bit light. And then we had a new wine, the Montanore Pinot from the Willamette Valley. This is a property that's been around for 30 years. They make a really nice, light and savory entry-level Pinot for $22.50. A good amount of earth, truffle-like notes of that red berry fruit. Quite savory, even on the nose. Like tart red berry fruit on the palate here with a raspberry, strawberry kind of note to it. Pretty spice and a zesty finish, light and savory. But a very good little Pinot at that price. The Maud Pinot was up next. That wine showed again really nicely on the second day. And then the King Estate, the largest producer of Oregon. We threw that in the mix on the second day. This is their signature Pinot, which likely zesty red berry fruit to the nose, raspberry and strawberry with light smoke and kind of brown spice notes. Bright and fresh on the palate, that red berry fruit showing through along with silky smooth tannins and a host of spice and earth and truffle nuances on the nose, kind of dried floral notes. Nice length on the finish. Excellent little Pinot for $26.25, 2011, a very good vintage, a classic vintage in Oregon, which means cooler, of course. Then the Han Pinot was up next, and that was a crowd pleaser again on the second night. A lot of people were going 5 and 7, 5 and 7. Those were their two favorite wines, and 7 was a GoldenEye. The Migration did get a few votes, though. This wine, again, it was a little softer than the Han in terms of fruit, but had a little more complexity to it. The GoldenEye we showed next, which this wine also, 7, which was a big hit. And then, you know what, you always get a little extra when you come to a Cafe Maxx event with the Wine Watch. We may have had more people there, but we showed the Ghislaine Barthod Chambo Moosonee also for those people. This is a really hot producer in Burgundy, and their Chambo Moosonee, this is one of my favorite village wines. You got Bon Mars on one end, Moosonee on the other end. And 2010, a vintage built for the ages in Burgundy as well. This wine took a day to come out of its shell, but really intense bouquet on the second day. Raspberry coulis-like fruit, wild strawberry, Jolly Rancher candy. Really pretty with a host of fresh flowers, an array of oriental spice. Really full and complex on the nose. Just want to keep smelling this wine, which... Man, I wish I would have opened it the day before. Those people that tasted it at Cafe just got a glimpse of all these things. Like I said, I kept the glass open on my desk, and these wines just continued to evolve, especially the 2010 Burgundies. It's incredible on the second day. Kind of bright, high-toned fruit showing on the palate with the impression of silk. Just lovely layers of spice, wonderful balance, that earthy, truffly note showing through at the end. Firm acidity holding everything in place. This is a wine that needs 10 years in your cellar for a village Chambo Moosonee. Wow. All right, well, that's what I had to drink at our 2 Pinot Noir tastings this week. I'm your host, Andrew Lampasoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying, remember, always drink the good stuff first.